believe we're live. Today we're going to be adding a new stage to the game, and then we're going to give it a try. That's it. Yeah. So let's get into it. I've been really struggling with this whole thing of trying to do marketing and game development at the same time. It's really difficult. So yesterday I spent the whole day editing a YouTube video. It took way longer than I thought it would. And I don't think I'm even going to upload it because it's cringe and I didn't like it. But there you go. So I'm really happy today just to get straight into it. Let's make the bloody game. This marketing nonsense, but you know, streaming, that's marketing. So, right. So to make a new stage, it's quite simple. I have created an engine which is not very user-friendly, but it's user-friendly enough. If you know me, if you're me, it's very easy to use. So we jump in here and we are going to, so we've got our stages here, and as long as we name it correctly, actually I don't think we even need to name it correctly, but we're going to call this bridge. Going to switch it on, and as you can see we have the ramparts, but we don't want the ramparts, we want the bridge. And we have our floor, and the first thing I guess is just to make our image. So we're going to jump into Piskel, and I'm just going to double check the dimensions. And also while we're here, let's just double check the audio, because I am a boomer, I do tend to mess up the audio. And actually I don't need my headphones right now. So yeah, I'm a boomer, I do tend to mess up the audio. So let's fix that, minimize this. Right, I think that's nice, that's balanced. Okay, good. We want to import our stone bricks just to see. Yeah, it's 64 by 64. Okay, so this is 64 by 64, and we just want a piece that is going to look like a bridge. I think what we're looking for is kind of wooden planks. Let me just get a reference of a bridge. I think there is a famous bridge scene in a game called Suikoden, or Suikoden. And maybe I should be reminiscent of that. I've not actually played it, I've started playing it. Bridge battle. Images. Okay, so they've got these like stone floor. Yeah, there's Ayuden Chronicle. Okay, so it's like a stone bridge there. For some reason I thought it was wood. It's a very nice looking scene, that. What about... Okay, so yeah, these are stone bridges. But what about a wooden bridge? I mean, yeah, maybe it's a bit silly to imagine that a big battle's going to be taking place on a wooden bridge, but I just imagined a big wooden bridge. Big wooden bridge. Yeah, okay, that does exist. And we've got these like planks. So what we might be looking at is actually something that is a bit wider, because we would have these long, much longer planks. Or, yeah, I think that's fine. Let's go with how I originally imagined it. So we've got planks which are quite tall. That are actually covering the full height. And then so I need to think, do I need to make that a really tall Piskel file then? I wonder. So it would look like, for example, so 64 times 128, 246, 246 if we just did that. Is that right? 246, yeah. And then we've just got this like long plank. So we would go with a rectangle, and I'm not too bothered about making sure this is exactly right to begin with. I just want to get something that I can put into the scene, and then I'll know, right? And yeah, let's make this bigger. Okay. Then we'll know. Okay, let's start again. Let's just start again. Right. So we've just got this very simple shape here. And we'll get like a nice wooden texture. Again, color theory is not my thing. At some point I need to go through all the colors in the game and make them better. And then to sell this wood effect, we just kind of need like that. Does that look like wood? I don't know. Close enough for me. You don't need to worry about tiling the texture because this is a plank of wood. Okay. And we would probably want to go ahead and draw an inner rectangle just to give it a little bit of depth. There we go. All right. Oh, no, that's not stone bricks. Okay, never mind. We might have just lost stone bricks, but we can always re-import it from the file. No, this is bridge plank. Plank? Yeah, bridge plank. And now we need to export it. Export it. Bridge plank. Sprites, floors, bridge plank. Okay. And then so this floor, and then we need to go in and import that properly. So we have our floors. There it is. Where there you are. And once again, I did at one point manage to figure out how to do the default here. So whenever I imported something, it would just automatically do all these settings, but it doesn't take very long. There we go. And so this floor should use bridge plank. There we go. That's already. I'm already quite pleased with that. As in, like, again, it's not amazing, but that basically looks fine. And we're going to be imagining. So they need to be quite a bit taller, I think, because we could like mess with it, but and how do I? Okay, yeah. So that changes the width. Continuous. So yeah, what we want to do then, and is that right? Is that? So we would want this thing to be quite a bit taller then. All right, let's do that. So 246. I need my calculator out because I am bad at maths. I should have these like numbers memorized, but 246 times. I mean, I guess those are wide enough, so we really only need it to be just twice as big. Times 2, yeah. 492. And then we can kind of stretch it to adapt. But that is the right sort of width. It's just the height needs to be quite a lot longer. So that would be, what was that, 492? Yeah. Oh. 492. Okay. And we are just going to copy and paste this down here. And we're going to get rid of this little seam. And then before we go in and correct the grooves, because I don't think it's going to look good, people are going to notice this is a copy paste. I just want to get the scale of it right. And it might not be till much later that I actually redo the texture. Okay, that looks good. That looks great. And that does look like the very bottom of it. And then what we can do is just adjust this so that it matches. And it's very awkward. Yeah, so this is exactly 5. It's going to be the same as 4.92. It's going to be that, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. Which is slightly awkward because then we're kind of sitting in the middle there. But that's okay. We can take this inner wall. I mean, we're not going to have an inner wall. So the first thing we can do is get rid of this. And what are we going to have below the bridge? I imagine water. So let's let's get rid of... Okay, that works. All right, so let's make water. Right? Is it water that we want? Yeah, let's say it's water that we want. We just want like blue. And I think blue would be nice as a kind of change from what we've had so far. So we are doing another 64 by 64. Yeah. And we're just going to do some very generic blue water. I know that anyone who knows anything about colors is screaming at me to not just use a random blue, but to pick from a color palette, but I'm not that advanced yet. Okay, and then we'll take a darker blue or a lighter blue and do some of these. And we'll fake one of these. So we take exactly, what is that? 63, 30, so that's 33, 32. And we'll just bring it down there. Doobie-doo. And then we'll do like a cheeky, let's do a cheeky, yeah, let's do a cheeky short tail. So that is 8. So at 8, I'm just looking at this number down here so that I can match it. Like that. Cheeky short tail. And this one looks like a overlap 47. Okay. Again, this is not great, but I'm just trying to get the idea across and put it in the scene, and then once it's in the scene, I'll know if it's workable or not. Okay. So then once again, we set up that tile. Sprite, single, small, no filter. And then we'll take our grass, we'll call this water. And this will be the sprite for the grass, okay? And then the horde, yeah, we can get rid of the horde. And then that's already quite nice. And then so to sell the idea of a bridge, we need our little, actually we don't even need our banisters, that would just be for safety. But who cares about safety? So what we might need, just to sell it, is just the edge here. And then we don't have to worry about much else. Yeah, how do we feel about this? We'll probably end up having a bit of maybe very subtle animation on the water to make it feel like it's moving a bit. And yeah, a little bit of something here just to sell the edge. But this is basically it. And so we have our chunks. We will get rid of the other chunks. Back returner, front returner. Okay, this is good because this is these returners. Very, very scrappy code, but what these returners do is they, if an enemy spawns in these, that's how I did it. That's how I did it. I was looking for this the other day. And so if an enemy, if a unit ends up landing in here, or an item. Okay, yeah, no, I did find it. God, the things that I do while I'm coding that I don't remember later. Okay, yeah, so if an enemy or if anything spawns in there, it will just be returned to the nearest point that it can be. And then these cubes here tell us the outer bounds. So these are the bits that we cannot walk into. And I don't see why this wouldn't be just at -10 exactly. And I don't see why this wouldn't just be at -10 exactly, at +10 exactly. And then the position of this should also be 0. And this should be 0. And this should be 0, yeah. So we've got our walls, our returners, our floor, okay. And so that's basically the ramparts. I don't know if we are supposed to have a reference to it, where we say, here's our ramparts level. As far as I, so when we, let's go into selected stage. Is that right? Selected stage. So, okay, so this is for the rain, and this is doing another job of making sure that any items or characters that appear there, like, so I'm kind of doing the same thing twice here, but it does appear that for items they can appear just right on the edge. So I think this is fine. I'm just going to leave that as it is. Selected stage equals ramparts. Okay, and then if we are creating spawners, a list of spawners if it's ramparts, but we don't have spawners in here because they're just going to spawn off the map to the right. So here we have, okay, rampart. Okay, so it is part of that. I will make a header. How do I make a header? There we go, header. Just to make this easier to find. I'm going to slowly organize and tidy up the code as I go, because at the moment it is just purely functional. But yeah, we want one for bridge. Maybe we could just match the name and say if the name of the stage matches the object, then we'll switch that object on, but this is fine for now. So ramparts, just going to continue. Yeah, so we will by default switch all of them off. So I just need to find all like instances of ramparts and make sure that I'm giving bridge the same treatment. And so if we are on the green plains, if we are on the ramparts, we don't need to generate any scenery. I think I don't think there's any scenery. I mean, we could add some. Like, there's not going to be anything on the bridge, right? Like, while there's bushes and trees in the plains, and while there's short walls and trapdoors, there's no scenery on the bridge. So that's fairly straightforward. So that will just tell us that if we've picked the bridge, do the bridge. Okay. Add new ally by instantiating an ally spawner. Okay, yeah, no, we don't need this. I should tidy this up at some point because it's not that clear. It would be nice to have everything. And then, so the key ones will be an ally spawner. And what this is saying is, if it's if the level is green plains, or the character that we're spawning is a tower, just spawn it in a random place near the player. We need to be a bit more clear on that, because so the easier thing to do, and maybe I will just do this actually, if the stage is bridge, is it just called bridge? Let's have a look. So we set these things up in the title screen now. So like I said, it's not that easy. So yeah, we just need to uncomment this. This is now our bridge. Yeah, it's just called bridge. Okay, and we have a bridge. And yeah, we're gonna copy these chunks over, just like we did with the previous level, and it should just be like the same sort of size Although, rather than... Because we're going to just be moving in the same direction for the whole level, so it might need to be quite a bit bigger than the other one, than the ramparts. Because the ramparts you can go left or right, and this you can go. So at least to begin with, so this is bridge chunk. And we just need to put one on either side. Very quick job. With a sort of, we will find the number. What is the number? What is the number for the ramparts chunks? 400 and plus 400. Okay, so minus 400. Is that, no, that can't be right, because then we've got a gap. Oh no, we don't have a gap. It's this that no, we don't even have a gap. That was just my imagination. Okay, yeah, that's not ideal, but it's also not the end of the world. I'm okay with that. And then we have another chunk to the right, which would be at 400. And then if we wanted, what we might find is that we'll actually make it to the edge of the map fairly consistently, if that happens more than a couple times. And so the bridge is an interesting one. What I would love to add to this game long term is something kind of like a lane in League of Legends kind of mode, right? So you've got towers, and the idea would be that if you approach the tower when you're too weak, it's going to shoot you down. The thing about that is your units will attack anyway. So what you need, so you won't be able to build up an army, but then nor will the enemy, because then if you are overwhelmed by the enemy, you can retreat to your tower, right? And what you might find is that it's just going to be super easy just to hang out by your tower, shoot down the enemy. So I'm not sure if it will even work. My designer instinct tells me it might not work, but you kind of need to try these things. It's very difficult to predict exactly how these things will play out. I need to do, this is a very minor job, but at the moment, the chest UI has to stay on so it can switch itself off and sort itself out, but I really need to like nest it. But that can just cause all kinds of issues with animation and stuff like that, and I just don't need to do that. It's a bit annoying, but it's just a tiny bit of work each time if I want to get rid of that screen, but I don't really need to. Okay, so I mean, in theory that just works. We have our level. What we need to do now is look at enemy spawner. So yeah, if we are on bridge, then we're just going to spawn allies around us. What we could do is say we want to spawn allies to the left, right? Yeah, we want to spawn allies off screen to the left so that they won't sort of spawn around you. They'll spawn off screen to the left. I don't know. Do we? We'll see. I don't think it's particularly necessary, but what we do want is for packs. So in this case we have ramparts. They spawn from spawners. But in ramparts, the other so we, yeah, if we're on the ramparts, we spawn from spawners. If we're from the plains, we just spawn around the player, right? Okay, so so central position. So this will also be, so we have to avoid this turning into spaghetti code, but I'm gonna let it spaghettify it just a little bit longer. So this is just saying that if we are spawning a pack, the central position, let's comment this out. So centralize. Is that right? Yeah, adjust Z position for long levels, long stages. And if we are, Okay, so this is saying west or east. So this is saying 0 or 180. But if we are... If the stage is... And I can just put this after. Again, not too neat and tidy, but it will do for now. And it is simply angle equals 180. I might need to adjust that. It might be 0 instead. But basically this is going to say that if we are on the bridge, spawn packs way off to the right. Okay. Shall we give that a whirl? I mean, again, so that's basically it. It's been 20 minutes, half an hour. And I think we've actually just... yeah, it's been half an hour. And we've made... I think that's it. I don't see why this wouldn't work. Do we need to set that up over here? So we... Yeah, there we go. Stages. See how much easier I found it with this header I just did. So the bridge... Turned it off by default, and let's try and just access it from the menu. I should have had it unlocked already, but it might be that I'll need to start a new save file and unlock it like that, or just kind of keep it unlocked by default. So we shall go into scenes and title screen and press play. Text my wife, let her know that I'm streaming. Oh, I just got some great news in an email. That's nice. Yes, telling my wife that I'm streaming, and to sort of tell me if I don't know what would be wrong with me. Do I have a bogey on my nose? Is the audio too quiet, too loud? Let's see. All right. So in theory, this should work. Bridge. We don't have a sprite for it. Okay. So first they're going to spawn around us. Yeah, and I think that makes sense. We could tell them all to spawn off to the right. But I think that's going to... I think that would make this very first moment quite boring and confusing. You see, this level's very simple. And at the moment, the unique part of this level isn't going to come into focus because it's the spawning. Wait, hold on. Are they all... Okay, we have a problem here. Oh, we have... Okay, he's gonna return. Wait, what? So the catcher didn't work. The returner. Why didn't the returner work? Is that because I don't have a returner? No, I do have a returner. So why isn't it returning? Okay, I don't think I need this. Okay, so we've got our first bug. That's all right. We'll get through this. So yeah, for some reason, it should be that if they spawn inside this box here, that they would return up there. But that's not happening. So let's try. And also, they seem to be all spawning in the exact same spot, which also confuses me. So here we go. Yeah, spawn enemy if stage is green plains or bridge. That should be it. And then we have our returner, and I'll just make sure this is working. Other dot name. There we go. So we're just gonna. So when I'm just checking the first thing is to check that if something is spawning outside, like inside the returner, is the returner even seeing it? Because if it's not seeing it, then I need to find out why it's not seeing it. If it is seeing it, then I can. Then the problem is something else, and it, you know, there's no point me investigating the problem without investigating it first. If that makes sense. Okay. Wonder if I should have a quick start button just to get me into any game. Yeah, see, I'm not the most intelligent man in the world. Just completely failing the basic thing that I needed to do, which was select bridge. Everything else didn't matter. Okay, so that goblin didn't appear dead center. That one didn't either. And that one didn't either. So they seem to be spawning correctly. So the next challenge is to find out if a unit spawns off the map. Yeah, okay. So it did find him. So it did, if other the character. So why did it not return him? OBJ. Ah, it's because it's looking for spawners. Okay. Huh. So what's happening here is because the ramparts is the level that they need a returner, it will find the nearest spawn point for an enemy to appear at and it will make them spawn there. But if there is no spawn point, it won't do that. So if there is no spawn point, it should just find like the nearest spot it can go to. Which is a bit tricky. Little bit tricky. So maybe rather than having this returner object, I should just make it that when we spawn, so we would have like a stage, would have a max height and a max, like a minimum Z and a max Z. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. So this will take a while. This will take a little while, but I kind of knew I would be running into things like this. So we're not going to use this anymore. We are going to go into stage, which I believe is set up at the title screen. Stage. And the stage will not just have names and descriptions. The stage will have like minimum and maximum bounds. Does that make sense? So is that just a vector 3? No. That would be 4 numbers. Can I store them easier? No, I think I'll just go. So public float min x like this. Maybe if someone's watching after the fact, they can tell me if there's a better way of doing this. I'm a self-taught programmer and I'm not very good at it. I just kind of hack my way through until the game works. So we have min x, max x, min y, max y, right? Okay. And then we need to go to the bit where we define the stages. And we've already got this information here. So, off map. Yeah, off edge. There we go. So, in the case of the planes, so if spawn position .x is greater than the, so character select, and this is not the best place to store this, but this is where it is for now. Selected stage dot max. The selected stage is a string. Okay, that's fine. So stages. Do we have a script called stages? No. So what we need is a way to get a stage based on its name. So get is this the best way to do this? Okay, like I said, not a very good coder, but what I need to do is to make a function that would get me a stage. And where do we actually store them? So it's get faction. Oh yeah, we have factions.get faction. And then stage, do we have stages.get stage? I don't think we do. Factions. And that literally just has the class for faction. Okay. So we need to do something similar to that and to be tidy, right? So we need to make a new script. And you can see I'm constantly at war with my past self. And where is factions? Does it exist as a script on something? Is a mono behavior on, is it on something? Let me check. Factions. I don't think it is, and I don't think it needs to be. Because that's a static, right? I don't think it needs to be a mono behavior then, because it's not going to be attached to an object, but let's see. So I'm going to basically copy this, and I'm going to make a new script in my lovely, very, very tidy scripts folder. Create script. It feels like a while since I've done this. Yeah, mono behavior script, and we're going to call this stages. Okay, and this is going to be similar to factions. So we're going to go into title screen. Let's put those next to each other, and we are stealing this from here and replacing that. And we are saying public class stages, public static stage, get stage. I could do a find and replace, but I want to read it. Stage in title screen dot stages, yeah. If stage dot name is the one, then return that. So this is just a way for me to get, okay. And we need, if it's got a list of names, we need this as well. And I probably should delete mono behavior, but I don't see the need. I don't know, maybe it would make it tidier, but as far as I understand, this is not using mono behavior. This is just a very simple definer and getter. So that's good. That's tidied up this a bit, made it a bit neater. And now we can so we shouldn't be doing this every time we spawn an enemy, but just for now, so characters, so this would be, so the stage, this stage equals character stages get stage character select dot current get stage. Selected stage. There we go. Oof. Mum spaghetti. Spaghetti code. We love a bit of spaghetti code. Alright, stage. So, this stage dot maxx. And before I do that, let's go to our stages, and luckily we only have 3. So no, we're not doing heroes. This is all over the place. I don't know why it's so... it's because I got the LLM to do translations, and it's kind of messed up the formatting. Okay, factions, stages, here we go. And so for each one, we need to determine what are our bounds. What are our bounds of this stage? So in the case of planes, we know it's... We thought we knew it was... Let's put this over here so we've got easy access to it. 595. So max x equals 595, and it's just that across the board. It's a square. Max min x equals minus 595. Max y equals 595. Min y equals minus 595. There we go. And we need to do this for each of them. Min y, max y? What's wrong with min y? Oh, min y equals, not minus. There we go. Okay, so min y equals minus. Okay, so there we go. And we need to sort of do that for each of them. So in this case, max x, min x is the same, but max y is 9 minus 9. It's not y, it's z. Silly man. Silly man. Because it's 3D, it's not 2D. Okay. So if spawn position.x is greater than this stage.maxx, spawn position.x equals this stage.maxx, potentially like minus +1 or something. Okay. Min x stage dot max z spawn position dot y, eh? Okay, never mind. This stage dot stage dot max dot min z, and this will be this. This will be this, and this will be this. And I believe that will work. And then in our, so we just need to make sure then that this is properly set up. So in the ramparts it's that, and in the bridge it's actually the same. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the returners and the script that was on the returners, just to wipe out any trace of that, because that wasn't the correct way to do it. And we can also do this with the rain. Yeah, so stage, this stage, and I think what I can do is we will make character select dot stage is a stage, and let's see what that breaks. Selected stage equals okay, that should work. There's going to be errors. Okay, so, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So we have changed that. Character selected stage dot names. And what we will probably like, so if it's okay because we're not going to have that many stages, right? But if we were to have, let's say, a few dozen stages, it wouldn't make sense to write it like this. What we would do is have like behaviors. So we would have, oh, this stage is spawn method is to just spawn around you in a radius. So then it would choose based on that. But for now, just because I've done too much already, let's just make what I've changed function. So do not come here to learn how to code. Come here to learn how to make your game despite being unable to code, basically. You didn't get a course in computer science or anything like that. You didn't have a mentor, and you're not even that patient. You're not even patient enough to make games, to learn how to code yourself, but you love games. And this is where you learn how to do that. Yeah. Trapdoor, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, so this is setting up the spawners, and we will kind of tidy this as we go. So make rain. Okay, so we don't need this here. Here we will once again say, and then this way we don't actually have to use this stage. We can just say, we can just go straight to that. There we go. So we don't have to like do this awkward for each routine through these names to find it each time, which does take memory, processing power, all of that stuff. So there we are. Yeah, these numbers are correct. Yeah. And we wanted to do this one, what was it, in side maps. So if level is the ramparts, but this is also going to apply to this great random position dot z is greater than dot max z, position dot z equals dot max z. And this is just for the z position. So min z dot min z. Okay, and we could do it for x as well, because that might come up one day. We could be at the edge of the map. So let's do that. Let's do it above for consistency. So x, let's just find z. Z is a nice rare letter. And I could do a find and replace, but I think it's nice to, I don't know, I kind of just want to do it like this. I feel like I have to explain myself more often on stream, but also I think it keeps me honest a bit. Okay, all right. Yeah. What did I just press? That one. Okay. So that should work. we now have a more robust system. And yeah, so what I was going to do is get rid of returner. Bye-bye. Go into our... and then we need to go into our scene and get rid of the returner objects. Apparently everything is fine with the stream, so that's good. That's nice. Great. Let's go into our scenes, main game. See stages. Can I just go get rid of all of these? Bye-bye. Okay, let's give this a whirl then. So a couple speed bumps along the way. So far it has not taken us half an hour to make a new level. It has taken us about an hour, nearly an hour. So probably an hour when all is said and done, which I think is pretty good going. I do have a few ideas for more levels. It is interesting how these little things do end up changing quite a lot about the scene, about how the way the game plays. So I'm really curious to just see what it feels like. Okay. Spawner. I think I know what's happening here. I think it's because... Right. Minzy, Maxi. So we are on the bridge, and when we spawn an enemy, let's debug.log max character select.selected stage dot names. And we'll do dot max c. Well, let's do Minzy because that's the one that we knew wasn't working. And then we'll do spawn position dot y. Okay. Okay, let's see if this works. I'll at least get some information. Was that even working at all at any point? I don't think that was working at all at any point, because I think this is supposed to be Z. Rather than Y. You see, I've been coding for a long time and I still make silly mistakes like this. Okay. Because yeah, spawn position is Y. Of course it's Y. Of course it's 0. Sorry, spawn position.y is 0. Of course it's 0. So yeah, I've made and released 5 games. This is my 6th game, but actually my 8th prototype. Like, as in, like, fully functional. And I still make very stupid mistakes. but it works. Well, except when it doesn't. Okay, let's give this a whirl. Okay, so we are indeed looking at bridge. The spawn position was, the min-z is -9, and it looks like he has spawned at -13. So if spawn position.z is less than min-z, min-z is indeed -9, then spawn position.z should be -9. So what is the problem? Programming is an exercise in making yourself feel stupid, I found. I guess the lesson here is that even stupid people can make games. You just need to really want to. Spawn position.z. So that spawn position should have been returned to 9. Oh, I know what's happening. So the enemies are all spawning, but it's just the allies. Okay, the allies, right? Because the returner was handling both enemies and allies. All right. Yeah. Okay, but it works. We just need to make sure it's happening for allies too. So spawn ally, stop spawning off the edge. Okay, there's our code. Lovely. We just need the same code like that. There we are. Genius man strikes again. Okay, I think that should be it. I think we have our new level. Yeah, I'm fairly confident this will work now. Okay, let's do bridge at top difficulty, and if it works, I'll do a full playthrough and see how far I get, see how it feels, see if I get to the edge, see if the level feels like a good idea. So if I'm here, yep, lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so it's going to be fighting them all around us, but the packs are always going to spawn off to the right. And it's just a different rule. It just means that, like, it's just going to change the way the game kind of plays out. Okay, yeah, I think this is going to work. I'm going to put my headphones on so I can hear the game. And this should be fun. Yep, let's get the hammer. And yeah, I don't know, I think... Oh, wait, what? No? Okay, so we found our first little bug. So maybe my maths should be better, but I think it is easier just to try it. So our central position and our... This would be, if it is bridge, then it is 0. This is not correct here. And I will just check that nice and quickly. Enemy spawner. We will just get the wogs spawning in a bit quicker. We'll just get that over here instead, and we can delete it later. Just so we can very quickly see if what I changed just worked. Okay. Alright, let's see how this goes. So we should start seeing wargs spawning in pretty soon. At least 15 seconds. Like from the 3rd second. Maybe not. Oh, we'll just wait for it to happen naturally then. Shield bearers are great. Oh yeah, there we go. And so the enemies will always spawn from the right. Okay, this should be fun. Let's do a full play. Let's see how far we get. I find damage is a funny one because it's almost always bad in games, right? Because, well, unless you make procs for it, right? So there are in all of these kinds of games, there might be things that are more likely to, like, they happen on a critical hit, or they happen on a hit, or they happen. Yeah, I mean it's going to be like that. So you're always going to be slightly better off with. You're always going to be slightly better off with a doing more attacks and more critical hits, for example, whereas damage is just damage by itself. So how do we balance for that? Do we make damage stronger? Or could you make it more interesting and make it so that there's a proc for doing above a certain amount of damage, right? So it's rewarding you. The thing is, that's still a critical hit, right? Don't know if I'm making sense here, but yeah, if you do like attack speed and crit is almost always going to be better than damage because of the way that procs work, and this is not just unique to this game. So do we make damage more powerful, or is there some way that we make damage procs that wouldn't apply to, like, make a proc for damage that wouldn't apply to other types of damage? If that makes sense. Or that, like, something that would proc on damage but not on a crit, and wouldn't benefit from attack speed either. I don't know. I think you just make damage more powerful, right? Critical hit. Because there's all the shields and priests are in front. There's no one that can actually get into attack range of the axe bearer. That could actually, like, it's never happened in the more than 500 hours I've played this game, but it could happen, I suppose. That you would just get in a state where you can't actually proceed. Okay, I think we should get the mage. We're kind of going for this, like, fiery build here. It makes me wonder, like, should there be stuff that procs on fire, which would just mean that you just always should pick fire? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be fun, right? Just to make you feel really good about picking anything that has fire on it. So, like, all fire damage goes up. Let's try stuff like that, like... all this would be like artifacts, like all fire goes, all like fire damage artifact, ice damage artifact, projectile artifact, because they're kind of boring, they don't proc anything, but it would be like, oh okay, I've got like a lot of ranged units and here's an artifact which increases all range damage for me and my allies, and that just feels good. That just rewards the player for thinking about what they're picking. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It kind of means I need to think about damage types, because currently there's no such thing. It could proc on... It could be something like whenever an enemy is set on fire, there is a chance to do something. To have a look at the stream, because now that we've got gameplay happening, I'm so paranoid about audio, because I've just done I've thought I've got it right and done these streams where and then done streams where like I just get it wrong, you know, where the audio levels are just all over the place and it's embarrassing. Okay, well, straight away I'm quite enjoying this. I'm quite enjoying just moving in a single direction. Towers would be a bad pick here, I think, because we would lose our momentum, so let's just upgrade this. Yeah, so it would be like frozen enemies have a chance to just like shatter, like, so when a frozen enemy dies, there's a chance that they'll shatter into a bunch of ice splinters, damaging enemies around them. And then like when an enemy is set on fire, if they touch another enemy, that enemy will also catch fire, that kind of thing, right? That would be fun. I reckon that would be fun. Like, it seems obvious, but there's not much gameplay there, really. It's just pick this, pick these ones. But, you know, you would get that pick at the artifacts. It dilutes the artifacts, but, you know. Okay, let's get hammer. Yeah, I quite like just moving in one direction rather than being pulled left and right. Okay. Well, for Sean, this is just always a good pick. Okay, let's get that. Lovely, lovely, lovely. We should probably get our next weapon so we can really start. What should the next weapon be? I guess spear is good. And then you could have like another artifact which is like all of your weapons gain a fire effect. And then if you have both of those artifacts, that's just kind of like that's good, right? And it's just fun, that kind of interaction, seeing how that plays out. Yeah, I think I should do something like that. Well, that's on the list. Fire damage artifact. So ice damage. Frozen enemies explode or take more damage. Yeah, I think frozen enemies explode is cool. Fire spreads. And then we could have like a melee damage. Which could just be, I don't know. Projectile artifact would be like, well, we kind of already have that. We have like chain and pierce, which only apply to melee. Sorry, to ranged attacks. And of course the ranged talent. But yeah, could you go further with that? Like here you go. Here's a talent, here's an artifact which gives you like extra pierce. So if you have been going for like a ranged hero character, you'll be rewarded for it. And if you have gone, yeah, like so it just makes a bit more build crafting. I feel like this mode's a bit easier, having them all come from the same side. Lovely. Oh, we've got a chest and yes, it didn't, because very often that ends up like I would have to quickly pick because it would unpause. But luckily I fixed that. That's good. Good to see that's working. Performance is struggling a little bit more than I'd like, but I think that's due to me recording and stuff like that. Okay, let's summon. There you go. This is actually like straight away. This is more fun, I think, just going in a single direction. I could go back and get some stuff, but it's like no, move forward, get the stuff that as it lands. Okay, I don't know how he spawned off there. Hopefully that's an anomaly. I do need to... Maybe I should have kept the returner. He probably got knocked back somehow or something like that. Got like a couple... It's just the one. Yeah, maybe I should have kept the returner thingy as like a backup in case that code fails. Kill the warlock, very good. Paladin. This is very good to get. This is a good run so far. It's good to get a combo upgrade before the 10-minute mark. It's almost essential, actually. Let's get that mana. Let's mana back here. Summon some more units. Oh, it's a totem. Let's kill that quickly. So yeah, it's like it's not simply you move forward. You kind of move a little bit in both directions. I might need to like stop them from appearing to the left side a bit. Like maybe they should all just be appearing from the right. That's something we can think about. Yeah, let's get a bannerman. We've got a fair bit of utility, but that's fine. Yeah, and I think having them spawn to the left means as well that if I do end up getting overwhelmed, I can kind of... I've still got things to fight on my way back. So this might actually be the way forward. And then, yeah, thinking about maxing out the level, like as in getting too far to one side, what I should probably do is some setup where it just goes on forever. Oh, what did I pick? Okay. Yeah, like straight away, I think I prefer this setup. Okay, why are these guys struggling? Okay, they were just waiting to be picked to find their target. But they got there in the end, didn't take too long. Yeah, I think I prefer this setup. Okay, yeah, so if I wanted to stop characters from ever coming off, like ever getting stuck off the side, check unit is in bounds after knockback. Because I think that's how they end up outside, like how they end up falling off the bridge, basically. It's knockback. And we just need to make sure that if that happens... So after a knockback, we can just do a little check. Say, are you still in bounds? It's going to be difficult to do that in a performance light way. We'll figure that out. Yeah, anytime a unit gets knocked back, check how far it got knocked back. So yeah, I think I mean, again, tell me if you're listening, if you're watching after the fact. Do you think a player is more likely to enjoy the game on their first run if this is their first level, or if the plains is their first level, or the ramparts, right? Because I want to just like make the best level the main one, right? Like the bridge. Okay, they all come from one side. That's what we should give you first. If this is the most fun thing, this should be the first thing players see. Rather than throwing them in the plains, which is great for, like, the open plains level is great for Vampire Survivors or Brotato. But for Warbeans, I think having these, like, narrow levels where you can't really run around actually works a bit better. Skip that mana. Oh, hello. Hello. Alright. Lovely, 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 lovely. Okay. Gain mana on player crit. Summon on player crit. We've got crit. We're doing a crit build. Get mana on player crit. I mean, mana is summon, basically. And we've got this mana one, so I'm going to say this one. The idea being that if I could then enhance my ultimate with a different artifact, that would be a very strong build. Quake Hammer. Not yet. Not yet. Oh dear. What was... Yeah, damage plus fireball, I think, is... that's a combination. I won't spoil it in case you haven't seen it. Okay, let's grab that. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is easier. I think my guys are surviving a bit better now. And I think this is more fun. Because it's just like moving in one direction. I feel like there's this sense of momentum. I think this should be the first level that players play. I don't know, I mean, I'll play it a bit more before I make judgments like that, but I think this is way more fun. Oh, we found the edge of the map. No! That we kind of have to call it there in that case. And it's only been 11 minutes. And we found the edge of the map. Well, let's do a bit of stress testing for battling near the edge of the map. But yeah, we should make it so that basically what we could do is move the chunk from the left to the right when you get too far. Right, so we kind of leapfrog with the chunks. Yeah, no, this is... Yeah, let's just keep doing a bit of stress testing, but basically this run is botched. Okay, but we know what we're doing next then, and oh, performance is horrendous. Let's do a quick performance check. So we just go and just find out what exactly is the choke point here. The thing is, the performance checker itself is quite GPU intensive. I've got like an old GPU, like a sort of... make this bigger. It's like a 1080 something. It's not very good. So, Scripts is the blue one. The blue one is the one that, if I've coded it properly, should be fine. Why is this... Can I not expand this a bit bigger? So it seems animation and physics. I think the physics is hurting it a lot. Try something. I'm gonna take all the items because I want to know what is choking the physics. Like, could it be that when we get too many units like this, they should just not be bumping into each other? Like, we should just turn off their colliders. The issue is that the collider is how we know if they're getting hit or not. So this is quite complicated. But yeah, how can I... So the orange bit there is physics, meaning physics is eating up too much memory. And the light blue is animation. I would love to be able to say, alright, if animation is killing the game, just turn it off. Like, if you've got a good computer, this won't be an issue. My computer is like, yeah, it's like 1080. I think it's like 4GB or even less GPU. It's not great. I've got like 8GB of RAM. Not a huge amount. Right. So if we, just as an idea, took all of these items and switched off the collider, does that help? Because it might be that, like, we've got this sort of on-trigger enter for each of these items, and the on-trigger is like, well, no, don't, like, whenever something enters the item, check if it's a human. I don't know how I would... So, in that case, what I would do is put the collider... I would just have to find a different way to collect the items. But no, it's not making a huge difference. The script is there. The script is doing some harm. And then the rest is this blue animation. You see, it's turning the items off hasn't really helped that. Are they getting switched on again, I wonder? Is that why it's growing again? So, item, sphere collider, the XP gem. Yeah, they all seem to be switched off. And then... And yeah, the way that units move, and the thing is I like this, is that they use like rigid body movement. So what is the thing? Well, performance, like there's going to be an ongoing battle. Again, like it generally tends to run fine when you run it outside of Unity. But yeah, I still need to keep an eye on it. So what else could we check? So we have items, enemies. Have we like killed most of the enemies? Slideshow. Yeah, I mean, they've got these rigid bodies. Oh, his sphere collider's off? Okay, well, the item thing did help. So in that case, I need to, like, do it in reverse, right? I don't know why the sphere collider is off. Oh, it's because it's been disabled. But when they're enabled, they do have a sphere collider. Okay. So, also, this is a dead script. This doesn't actually do anything. So I will make notes of these things. So we need to, okay, kill, health, script. Yeah, check unit is in bounds after knockback, because that might be expensive, but we'll keep in, or just like kill them if they fall off the edge. Okay, and so the way that items work is the item has a, is it on trigger? So whenever something enters the item, we check if this is a character that can pick up items. So what I need to do is do that in reverse. I need to make it so that the hero characters and any character that is supposed to be picking up an item is checking if they... So instead of on trigger enter being here, the on trigger enter would be on the character, and it would be like a separate item, which is my like loot vacuum. So make item, make on trigger for collecting item on collector side. So that's going to be slightly complicated. I don't know what to do about the physics, but the animation is the big one actually. So let's say that physics amount is fine. The problem is that we have a lot of animation happening, and I don't know which side it's on, right? So just to make life easier, just to sort of see what happens to the performance, let's just grab all of our enemies and tell them to not animate anymore. Just stop. It's not the items, it's the things inside. It's not the characters, it's the items inside them. So character sprite renderer. So if I take all of these and switch them off, does that then make the game run smoothly, I wonder? Let's see. Doesn't seem to have done very much at all. So is it in that case? Oh, it seems like it was kind of catching up. So I'm trying to figure out which of the items, which are the things that... So yeah, that's not much smaller since I've actually literally just turned off the animators for most of these things. As far as I know, I've already gotten rid of... So if we go select... If we go and select an item... Again, if you do know what you're doing and you're watching this, please do let me know. But I think if we take an item... This... already doesn't have an animator. Yeah. So let's look at weapon containers. So there's going to be a lot of these in the scene. Is that... And it's not the weapon, but the weapon sprite renderer that has animation on it. So let's take all weapon sprite renderer. There's a lot of these, so. And yeah, I think that's the issue. We've just got an absurd amount of these. And I'm wondering if, and a lot of them are like switched off because the character isn't there, but a lot of them like don't actually have weapons, but they still have the animator. So I wonder if that is doing something like if I could just switch off. So switch off on weapon sprite renderer, switch off animator if off, right? Okay. Okay. That has significantly reduced things and now made it so that it's my... So the dark blue is my script. The bug. Okay, that must just be something that happens when shit is hitting the fan. Yep, just... Okay, stop pausing on... Error pause, error pause. That has considerably smoothed things up. It has considerably smoothed things up. Like a lot. Okay. So we want to leapfrog map chunks. Okay. And so yeah, the weapon sprite render. So as soon as we turned those off, there was considerably better. It was considerably better. But I wonder if So before we do anything too funky, I'm just going to say that like when there is no weapon, so by default, oh god, yeah, actually it's not too difficult. So by default, the animator would be switched off on the weapon sprite renderers. That would be the default setting. And we would switch it on once a weapon is equipped. Right? Huh? And we say apply upgrade. We say weapon is weapon. Yeah. And then we've got our sprite renderer sprite. Yeah, so weapon container get component. Animator dot enabled equals true. And otherwise it would be turned off by default. So it would only come on when a weapon is equipped. It's except for the hero character. I can't actually think of a circumstance where a weapon would like be unequipped. So we need to go take any of these characters, go to our character sprite renderer, and just all of these are off by default. And let's see if that improves performance. As for the physics, I don't know. We could just do something crazy. We could just do something fucking crazy. And we could just turn off the rigid body. Just make it so that... No, we need the rigid body to move it, but just make it so that they can just walk through each other. Right? How do I do that? Unity. I think you just say like is trigger, right? What's automatic tensor? Center of mass. Let's try... The problem is, and this is a big mistake that I've made, is... yeah, it's that... Yeah, let's grab all of these. The problem that I've had is... Like, I should have used prefab variants properly. So that I could just change so that these would all be variants of a prefab, and I could just go to the root of that variant and change it there. But if we said let's turn these off and just see if that helps. Yeah, center of mass would be 0, 0, 0, and then automatic tensor just seems like it might be doing harm. Let's see if that just makes a difference, and then we can say Unity make rigid body. Ignore collision. ignore collision, but I don't see that. Like if this is 0, that shouldn't make a difference. Like that could make things easier. And then collision detection, Unity, this. Yeah, so I'm seeing stuff about using raycasting. The issue with that is that raycasting doesn't work when it's too far from 0. So, I mean, I guess I should just try a few of these things. Okay, yeah, discrete is the cheapest. Tensor, I don't know. Let's see if that changes things. Let's see if... So I've already tried something for the animation to cut down on that, and I should see how that goes before I try it again. And, okay, yeah, that works. Alright. And the other thing I should do is select all of these again. Get rid of this because this doesn't do anything. So it's an old hangover. Okay, apparently audio levels are fine. That's good. Okay, and we will find that script and delete it. Prefab scripts, health. I think it's back in the, this was in the old version of Unity where they just ended up here, and it is called health, and we can get rid of it. Okay. Let's see if that helped. I mean, the physics might just be one that like can't really be helped. The game will freak out a bit if there's too many things colliding with each other. And so kill health script. Do that one. I'll put a pin in the check if unit is in bounds after knockback. I mean, it's okay if it happens like very, very rarely, but then that could still ruin a run. So I'll put a pin in that for now and not delete it. Okay. The other thing we can do, and I'll just make a note just in case like I'm wondering why the game is broken. I changed everything. I changed some things on rigid bodies, just in case, like, I'm like, hold on, why is the full game broken? And I forget that I did this big change to a bunch of characters. Okay, so this, yeah, we want to put this on some characters. So I think we will make a script that runs on some characters, so starting with the hero. We will add an item collector. And this, should it be I'm thinking it should be an object within a character, right? Because then it can have its own so then the item would need to have. So what are we checking? So when something enters an on trigger, it has to have a collider on it. Okay. So this would still need a collider. But it can be like small. Well, we'll just change it for the XP gem. And this is, and so we will take our little object here that we have made on Sean. So this is our item collector. This will have a sphere collider, which is a trigger and is rather big. So yeah, 2 is good. And this has the script item collector. And we will just take basically the same script go into the item. Let's comment out the whole thing. So there is no on trigger enter. Item equals other get component item. If item is not equal to null. And then we don't have to do that check. Item dot is attracted equals true. And then that should just work. Okay, so I am carrying the thing. Okay, so what I'm worried about is that it's not going to see the other item because the item is a trigger. But I kind of want the item to be a trigger so that it's not like a rigid body, right? Let's see how that works. Because I want the item to not have any physics on it. I just want it to be this thing that can be on trigger enter. And I think that is cheaper than like measuring distance each frame, right? Let's see. Yeah, if you're watching, please like the video, as if you do like it, because that really does help. Okay, something's gone wrong, because we are in the main game scene. Okay, let's see how this works. Let's just do planes for now. And considering I switched it off at the items end, if my character picks up an item, then it's working. Oh, hello. Where is everything? What? Where did you appear? What? Okay, I must have written this wrong. Max X, min X. But then for... min Z is minus 595. Okay. Easy mistake, easy fix. Yeah, so my special method of coding is basically to bang my head against the wall until a crack forms, and then bang my head into that crack. Okay, well, it's working. But I'm getting performance issues. I don't know what the cause of those would be. I think that might just be like my computer catching up. Huh. I'm getting little spikes for rendering and physics. I think that is just... little spikes for physics. What are these little physics spikes? So you can see. See, what are those little physics spikes, I wonder? Garbage collector, that's that dark green. Okay. Wait, so even if nothing's happening, we still get the odd physics spike? What is that all about? Garbage collector. Script, that was just me adding the stuff. Script. Really? Garbage collector, all that? Okay. Random physics spikes. Which I'm not sure were happening before. What is causing them? Have they always been happening, I wonder? Okay, well in general it's working. So what I need to do, just to complete this task, is grab my grab a couple of these characters. So grab the characters that will be collecting items. And yeah, put these in those, so it goes in the looter. Goes in the loot goblin as well, which actually makes me wonder, like, why. I would imagine that like if it's in the loot goblin, I would think that it would be picking up items for me. Is that how that worked? If other character dot is player, or if other character dot name contains loot goblin, so it should. I mean, I don't want this to happen, but I would expect that the loot goblin would be like accidentally picking up stuff for me. Maybe he was and I didn't notice. Well, let's not have that on yet. One of the next things we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through and we're actually going to make the orcs a faction, and we're going to be making humans enemies, and in those cases we might need to just like switch these items off. I don't know if I'm going to make it that like we'll be using different, like, so there'll be a prefab for the allied character and there'd be a prefab for the enemy character as well, and we would pick different ones based on the need. Okay. But yeah, expect that to work. We can always do... I won't delete that just yet. I expect that to work. So rather than the item, every time a character walks through an item, it's checking if they're a character. There could be hundreds and hundreds of items on the ground with hundreds of characters walking through them. You've got to imagine that would be quite expensive, so we'll put that on the collector side rather than the item side. And yeah, check unit is in bounds after knockback. I'm going to do that a bit later. Everything does not appear to be broken, and we want to leapfrog the map chunks, and we wanted to make some new artifacts, which is super easy. We'll do that later. Let's do this. Leapfrogging the map chunks. I'm going to set that up, and then I'm going to go make a cup of tea. So, where would we do this? And this means that should I just make it bigger? I think it might just be easier just to make it bigger. Let's just make it bigger. And we'll see if that like messes with things, but I don't think it will. So we will take... Let's take... yeah, let's go into our scene. Yeah, let's just make it bigger for now. And see if that ruins things. And we just need more chunks. So we take chunk number 2, and this will be 800. Chunk number 3 will be 1.2k. 1.6k. Let's do one more. 2k. I mean, it's the same in Vampire Survivors. If you get to the edge of the map, you just get to the edge of the map. As far as I know, I've never gotten to the edge of the map. It's just very big, but there is a map. I don't think it's expanding as you go. The thing is, if I did the leapfrogging thing I was suggesting, then the spawn limiters that I just put in that stop them from appearing off the edge of the map, that all goes to shit, basically. So I think it might just be easier to do that, which means that actually, yeah, so for the bridge, if we... So our new max X is 2.2k. So we just need to go into title screen. Bridge max X is 2,200. Or probably a bit less than that. 2195. Yeah. That works. Whoa. So yeah, we're not doing the leapfrogging yet. We'll see. I don't think anyone's ever going to make it this far. And I don't think it's going to tank graphics. And I don't think I need to animate this water either. I could improve it a bit. You can kind of see where the seam is there. So I'll try and do a line like there. So added the bridge level. Done. Leapfrog map chunks. No. Artifacts. Projectile artifact. Melee artifact. I think these are just fun. People will like them. They sort of make you lean into a build. I mean, really what I need to do is see if all the changes I just made are working. I should be able to finish the bridge level because we're not going to hit the wall. That's what went wrong last time. And hopefully we've once again improved performance. And if not, then we can kind of have another look and have another think about that. So let's go ahead and add these artifacts. Fire damage artifact. Fire spreads. That's actually easier said than done. But what if we just made it that they exploded? So burning enemies have a chance to explode. I mean, we've already got, like, enemies have a chance to explode when they die. But, like, and we could, with ice, it could be that frozen enemies take more damage, which would be a simple matter of on take damage. So wherever we have marked, not Text Mesh Pro, not upgrades, character. Huh. Damage taken X. So it would be something like if they're frozen. So attack speed X and speed X goes down, but if they're frozen, they will. So it would be something like. Either we would change the buff, meaning that when we freeze something, so when we add the buff Frost, if we have this artifact, then or we could put it at the damage side, so when a unit takes damage, we check, we say, So let's do crit procs, no. Armor effect. Life steal. So if whenever we take damage, like if the player, if we have this artifact, if this character is frozen, damage times equals 1.5. So the idea is we're saying that if an enemy is frozen, they will take more damage. And then as for fire spreading, so we could say, do we have like an on trigger? No, we don't. Like a character bumps into another one. So we could, I mean, for the fire one, I think it is more fun if we say, rather than fire spreading, we say that any burning enemies have a chance to explode. So, and this would be any burning enemy. So this could be allies that are causing this, which would be great. So, explosion. So yeah, when it dies, so we'd have kill event artifacts, vengeful artifacts. We could say if we have, so this is a separate artifact, this would be like flaming death. Sounds cool. If artifacts contains flaming death, dice if, and like these would synergize with each other, right? And this would be like, yeah, if it's less than 2%, so this is a higher chance, then explode. And show me that flaming death has happened. Right? So if an enemy is on fire and it dies, it has a chance to explode. Okay. So we just need to add that to artifacts. So let's do, so yeah, we've got ultimate ones and then we've got like damage type ones. Can't think of a better name right now, but damage type. And we have, yeah. So let's name these. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got flaming death. And then for the frozen one, yeah, I think having them take more damage if they're frozen is like a nice, so we could say frostbite. And so what would projectile do? So all projectiles would chain, all projectiles would pierce, all allied projectiles do something. So this would just be rewarding the player for having allies that are ranged. So all projectile something, and melee one would be like all melee damage is up. It's very simple. I like to, so in all of these cases I could just say fire damage goes up or frost damage goes up, but I like to do something a bit more interesting, right? So instead of just number goes up, let's make something that actually like interacts, that does something interesting. So let's do, but melee. Like all melee characters do more knockback. That's not very useful. Melee something. Okay, and we can just change the name later. So critical, killer, vengeful, holy, chicken, ultimate. So these are all themes of artifacts, and we will have damage type, which is also a very bad placeholdery name. But the idea is, so we'll copy this, and we'll say you've got, flaming death. And I've already got I need to put a note to translate these. Damage type artifacts. Flaming death. Frostbite. Frostbite sounds cool, doesn't it? If they're frozen, we bite them harder. Projectile something. So yeah, frostbite. Throat bite. And this, what's that? Did I just watching The Office? I don't understand. Is it, are you complaining that I'm like, it's just me doing work? Yeah. Or am I being cringe or something? I don't know. Frozen enemies take 20... 20% more damage. Frostbite, flaming death. Burning enemies have a 20 chance to explode. How did I phrase it with killer explosion? 10% chance for enemies to... I have no idea what you're talking about. I think you must be trolling me or something. You want to be a race car driver, especially in drag racing. You should follow your dreams. And yeah, we don't want full stops at the end of them. So yeah, just when burning. Frozen enemies take 20% more damage, yeah, and we don't need a full stop there. And then projectile something. Something projectile. I could just say, yeah, like chain. Or pierce or something like that. Because I just find that more interesting than damage. Melee something. This game is going to be like Vampire Survivors or Brotato, but you can summon allies as well as fighting by yourself. So far, I haven't seen another game do that, where the allies are using the same rules as the player and the other enemies. I've seen games where you play as like some corpse lady, and you've got a whole bunch of corpses that like move alongside you. They kind of move with you, and they act more of like a sort of body shield. And I've seen other games where you can summon allies, but it works more like a kind of special move, right? Like they just appear and do one thing and disappear. And I think the reason behind that is it's actually really difficult to optimize. If you've been watching this stream, you'll know that, yeah, it's quite difficult to optimize for this. You've got to have dynamic units all moving around and targeting each other and doing moves on each other, and it can get quite heavy. But yeah, that's the deal. So you could sort of say it's a bit like an RTS bit like Vampire Survivors meets an RTS kind of thing. Real-time strategy, and melee something. If we're doing... Let's get rid of this. If we're doing... if projectile something is... If projectile something like does piercing, we might as well have another one that does chaining, and we could have another one that does splitting. But they're all kind of OP. Splitting is definitely OP, so we wouldn't do that. But we could do so we could say I'm just trying to think of a funny name. Yeah, a game like GTA. Well, we're talking GTA 1. That alone would have been fairly difficult to develop. A big game like GTA is, yeah, I mean, but for different reasons. Because a game like GTA, I mean, it's third-person action. That's already been kind of well established. But the devil is in the detail there of like getting all the physics to work just right and optimizing for these big worlds where lots of characters are driving around. I think there is code for it. I mean, I could imagine doing something like that. You kind of have cars, kind of like city skylines. They kind of simulate traffic pretty well. But yeah, GTA would be difficult to make. I couldn't do that. Not alone, at least. Okay, so pierced. I don't know. What do we call this? What should I call... So it's an artifact. So just to give you an idea of the naming convention, I want to make an artifact, which means that all of my allies' projectiles will pierce. Say, mass pierce. And then the melee one would be like, you could just do like all melee attacks have like more AoE. Yeah, like, let's just call it big pierce. Big piercing. Big chains. And big melee. If we come up with better names, we'll do that, but it's just big. It's big, better, stronger. Okay, so we have Flaming Death, Frostbite, those sound cool. Big Pierce. All projectiles gain. All projectile weapons gain +1 piercing. And then we'll do that again. All big chain. Big chain. Is that right? Big chain. Big chains. I think big chain is fine. Big chain. All projectiles gain +1 chain, which is pretty powerful. And then got the last one. Big melee. Big melee. All melee weapons So we say all allied, just to make it clear. All allied. Gain 20% damage and AoE. Okay, that works. So they are now artifacts that exist in the game. Okay, we need to Flaming Death. Oh, we don't need a thing there. Frostbite, big P, big C, big M, and they're all unlocked by default. Nice and easy. So kind of muddy the waters a bit, but we can sort of balance that by giving players more ways to re-roll. It's more rewards for them to go for. So big, yeah. So we've got that. We haven't got the sprites yet, obviously, but we can. So what I do is I just leave the list there, and so I can go through that list. So yeah, ice damage, projectile, big P. Big C, big M, and I should go and so yeah, these exist now. These are artifacts, and now what I need to do is the work to actually get these to work. So let's start with the first one. So we've got Flaming Death. This works, yeah. If I've got Flaming Death and I have a 20% and an enemy dies while I've got Flaming Death. This we've already checked, yeah. So this is killer, means if the damager is not equal to null, if the damager is the player, but it doesn't depend on if the damager is the player. We just need to know that wait, hold on, killer. Yeah. If we've killed an enemy, they're not on our team. But so here we do need to say if enemy. Yeah. So if is on player team. So if we're an enemy and we have died. Yeah, if we have died and we're an enemy and so we don't need to check if the damager is the player, and but we should put this under the dice roll, I think, just so we're only checking when it applies. So, what do you mean it doesn't exist in the current context? Of course it exists in the current context. Okay, let's just do it like this. So if someone dies and they're not on the player team, and if we roll the dice, and it doesn't matter if the damager is player, and if and so we need to check, do they have the debuff? If buffs dot contains how do I check if something has a buff? Because generally we add the buff, but we can't check like if buff.first or default. I'd see dot name, right? I dot name, yeah, is equal to burning, and I need to double check that. What is it called? And we already actually have like the ticker, so burning add buff. Fire. It's just called fire, okay. And we have somewhere that, yeah, if we have a fire buff, then tick damage every second. But okay, but we don't want to have to check through each buff, so we can just say the name. So if we have fire, if we have a buff that is called fire is not equal to null, then burn it. Then we have a chance. Yeah, great. If we're an enemy, and if we roll 20%, and if we have the fire buff, then explode and show on the player. And yeah, make item burst always happens on the player, I think. Yeah. Okay, yeah, alright. Flaming Death. Okay, next one would be ice damage. And we just looked at that earlier, so take damage. Take damage, and we already did it. If we have... So I don't want to check if we've got the artifact each time, but yeah, if artifact, and how do I check for an artifact? Bear with me. If gm.c.activeartifacts.contains frostbite, and then we want to say if the buffs on this character that is taking damage frozen, and let me again check. Just put an error there on purpose so I could easily find it again. Add buff. It's called Frost. So if we have Frost, then in that case, damage times equals, and what did we say? It is 20% more damage. Not a huge amount, but it's fairly significant, 20%. I mean, it's just little things that reward you. Wait, is that right? No, it should be 1.2. Just little things that reward you for, like, I don't know, just creating builds. Okay. Yeah, that works. Ice damage, big P, so big pierce. I think if we can just say that, like, when the artifact is added, we can just add to the piercing, and it should reset. And because you don't lose an artifact, you never lose an artifact. But if we're saying that this applies to all allies, okay, so we would be like projectile. So yeah, it's when we make a projectile. So I'm going to start getting rid of these because it's gotten a bit too clogged. And we're going to say weapon container. And we're going to find where we make a projectile. And pierce. Projectile.pierce equals character.pierce plus weapon.pierce. So like how much piercing does the character have and how much piercing does the weapon have combined. But also if gm.c.artifact.contains big pierce, then proj_script.pierce ++. That's it. That'll do it. I'm just annoyed that every time we shoot, we're going to be checking this list, which is more processing power. But that's not really the choke point at the moment in terms of performance, so it should be fine. And then same here, big chain. Chain. That's it. That'll do it. Okay. And then the last one is big melee. So we actually got rid of melee attack. Am I correct in thinking that? Attack type.melee. Because if I remember correctly, there are no more weapons. So if we look in weapons, I've made them all use attack type .magic .melee. So even the sword uses attack type .magic. So I don't need to worry about melee. I do need to worry about magic. And so if attack type is magic, then magic attack. Just because melee and magic are effectively the same thing, right? A magic is like a sort of effect that happens, and a melee attack is basically a very short range magic attack, if that makes sense. So magic attack. Okay. So this is an exception for Scroll of Inspiration. This is to say once you've finished attacking, reset your target, but we haven't used that for a while, so it's fine. Play the animator. Animate, sound effects. Reset timer. Make the effect. And this is where we would want to put it, except it's only for melee. So now we would actually want a melee specific attack. So like we would have builds that reward you for. So yeah, we should have something that determines, is this a melee attack? We should have that. That would be useful. Yeah, that is something we should have. Okay, well, I'm going to add to my log what I've done today. So I've added bridge, level, stage. And what else did I achieve today? Added new artifacts. Which I should test. And so, yeah, we need to know if we're doing a melee attack. So we make the effect. We can check here. And we would have to say, like, so, like, if... Here we go. So here we go. Here's where we would put it. So like, if weapon is melee, which we haven't determined yet, then if weapon is melee, if gm.c.activeArtifacts.contains big melee, then okay, so this should come before that because that's where we actually make the scale of it. Then shooter AoE times equals 1.2f, and shooter damage x times equals 1.2f. Okay, so now all we need to do is figure out, so we would need to go through each weapon and determine if it is a melee weapon or not, which I think is easier than setting the damage type. So melee weapon. So yeah, we'll just do a public bool is melee. And then I need to go through each weapon. And if it is a melee weapon, say yes to is melee. So by default it will be false. And I can go sword. Is melee equals true, like that. And this will be tedious. Nope, but worthwhile. Shouldn't be too bad. Okay, all right. I'm not going to make you watch that, so I think I'm going to close the stream here. I think I will start up another stream after lunch, so if you guys want to come and join that. I'm going to go pick up my kid from nursery, have lunch, take a little break, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to do this off stream because this is literally just me going through. I'll just collapse them. Crossbow, no. Fireball, dagger, yes, that is a melee weapon. And just going through each weapon that is melee and saying yes, it is a melee weapon. Kind of boring. And when you come back, all of these will be done, and we'll draw the sprites for these new artifacts, and then we'll do a play test, and we'll try and get those artifacts. I'll put in a cheat to so we go character. No, come on, I'm being stupid. Character, and then I also need to know what is a reroll. And then how do I do rerolls? Okay, it's just that. So I would put, so basically I want to put a cheat so I can just re-roll artifacts as many times as I like, so I can actually try these out. So cheat if input dot get key down. Let's go with R for reroll. Then start coroutine show level up. It's as simple as that. If we want to reroll, we just do that, and then because this is a cheat, it will just happen as many times as I like, so that when I do the play test, I can make sure that I get the artifacts that I want, and sort of do it in a sort of balanced way, just rather than just giving myself the artifact. So, and we'll do this if weapon dot is melee, and so yeah, I just need to go through every single weapon, and if it is a melee weapon, put that there. So yeah, thank you for joining me. I will be streaming again later. I'll schedule it now. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe. It really helps a lot. And please do wishlist Warbeans on Steam. That would be great. You can try the demo for free. All of these updates I'm doing now should be up by the end of the week. So yeah, thank you for joining. Bye.